So inspired by our story King Bidgood's in the Bathtub, we will be making self-portraits of ourselves as kings and queens in the tub. So the supplies that you're going to need to make the bubbles and skin tone for our self-portrait are a 9x12 white piece of paper. You'll need 2 of these. You'll need your watercolor set, a paintbrush, and some water. Of course, you see that I have dirty old SpongeBob there, but feel free to use a paper towel. So we also want to create texture, and one way of creating texture on a watercolor is by adding salt. So you can use regular table salt, or you can find some plastic wrap laying around your house. So let's get started. We will be using cool colors to create our bubbles. So just to remind you of my color wheel, the cool colors are on this side of the color wheel. Those are the colors that make you think about being cold: water, ice, and snow. So I am going to wet the cool colors, and only the cool colors, in my watercolor set, getting them nice and juicy. Now once I have my colors ready to go, remember watercolor requires lots of water, then I'm going to start with whatever cool color that I want. I'm going to choose purple, violet, and I'm going to spread it out. Now, when we're painting the cool colors, we have to work kind of quickly so that we can put texture on top of it. And to add that texture to it, we need the paint to still be wet. So you'll notice that I'm blending the colors together. I don't want it to look like a striped shirt. I don't want to see where the green starts and the blue stops. So I'm blending my colors together. Now, if you simply just can't paint fast enough, then you could paint half of your paper and make sure it's still wet, and then you could grab your salt. I'm going to just pour a little bit in my hand, and then if you've ever seen Mom or Dad cooking, you just sprinkle it on. Just don't dump the whole thing on. Use your fingertips to sprinkle it, kind of like we're seasoning chicken. Next, I'm going to paint the rest of my paper in the same way. My watercolor's dried out a little bit, so I'm going to make sure that I get them nice and juicy. And then I'm going to blend all of my cool colors together. Be sure, don't just choose one color that you like just sticking with blue. I would like you to use all of the cool colors together. It's just going to make your bubbles that more beautiful. Now, once you have the whole paper painted, then you can use even more salt on top of your paper, or you can use a plastic wrap technique. So my entire paper is painted, and now I'm going to get my plastic wrap. So it doesn't have to be perfectly smooth on there, and it actually works better if it's not perfectly smooth. So if you see the bubbles and wrinkles, that's going to create a really beautiful texture that I want to show up on my artwork. So while we're waiting for our bubble paper to dry, we are going to work on our skin tone paper. Your skin tone is the lightness, the brightness, the brownness, the peachiness of your skin. So we are going to use the opposite side of our color wheel. So instead of cool colors, we are going to get the warm colors nice and juicy. So make sure you have a nice clean brush, and let's get started. So the warm color that we're going to start with is orange, and you want to put a lot of water into the orange. This will make it a lighter value, and it'll start to look like a peach. As you're painting, make sure that you smooth out that color, because sometimes when you put it on, it looks like a darker value, but once you spread it along your paper, it will start to spread out into a peach. So we all start with the same color, no matter if you have a darker skin tone or a lighter skin tone. Next, after you give your hand a little viewing, You can decide, do I need to add a little bit of brightness? Yellow will add brightness to your skin tone, but make sure that you water it down. You don't want to look yellow like a banana or a lemon. You want just a little bit of brightness to your skin tone. Also keep in mind that when your watercolor paint dries, it usually dries a little bit lighter than when you first originally painted. So an artist keeps making adjustments. I want you to make sure that you paint the entire paper. You won't need the entire paper for your self-portrait, but it's good to always have extra just in case you make a mistake. Now I'm starting to make sure that I get all of the edges of my paper. If you feel like if you put your hand out and you notice, my skin tone's a little bit more pinkish, then you can water down your red and spread out just a very, very light pink. That's what it will create. But I need a little bit more brightness in my skin tone, so I'm using the yellow right now. Now, for some of you, this might match, but I am a little bit browner. I have a little bit more brown in my skin tone. So I'm going to water down my brown, and then I'm going to spread the brown on top of it to create a darker skin tone. So once I mix that all together, I really want to paint with long, smooth strokes to make sure that when my paper dries, I have a smooth skin tone. For this paper, I don't want any texture on there. Now, once you feel like you've matched your skin tone as best you can, remember, we don't have to go for perfection. You're going to put both of your papers somewhere safe so they can dry. And then be sure to tune in for part 2 of King Bidgood's in the bathtub.